From technology to fashion to e-commerce, our guest today has led from the front in a myriad of sectors. And today, Gunjan Soni is the new managing director of YouTube India. Now, according to industry experts, India is the fastest growing market for YouTube, and YouTube is the biggest platform for creators, influencers, and creators turning into millionaire entrepreneurs. In this discussion, Gunjan talks to us about her journey, about the biggest success stories in the creator economy and the pitfalls therein. She also talks to us about the biggest trends in the content space and where she sees YouTube India in 5 years from now. It's Monday, the 13th of October. I'm Anirban Chaudhary. This is Corner Office Conversation. Gunjan, very warm welcome to this latest episode of Corner Office Conversation.
Thank you, Anirban. It's really a pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. The pleasure is ours, Gunjan. So, stepping in this leadership role at a time when, according to industry experts, India is the fastest growing market for YouTube. What are some of the opportunities and what are some of the challenges you see? First of all, why don't you confirm whether India is indeed the fastest growing market for YouTube?
Well, I will neither confirm nor deny this. We don't typically report our numbers at this level.
Right.
But coming to the heart of your question, if you just look around in India today, I think there is such a strong scale which has become possible, largely because of more affordable access on one end. And then you have this really young demographic, again at scale in India, who's very ambitious and very entrepreneurial.
Yep.
I think the time has come where the boundaries between users and creators is blurring really fast.
Absolutely.
And, just last year, nearly 100 million channels uploaded content on YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So that's a strong example
That's
of
across
how...
the world.
That's just in India alone.
Okay. Wow.
Right? And that's the power of what I'm talking about, this convergence. And about 15,000 of them already have more than 1 million subscribers, right? So that's like filling Wankhede Stadium 30 times over for each of these creators' channels.
Yeah.
I think that the speed and the scale at which these creators are finding their voice and creating their careers on YouTube is just incredible.
Gunjan, double-clicking on this whole phenomenon of creators becoming entrepreneurs, how does YouTube facilitate that? And if you could tell me your favorite story out of these, as part of this phenomenon.
Absolutely. And I think, it's so heartwarming that you asked this question because it is the time for Indian, creators, I genuinely feel, for being successful on a global stage. Think of Viju. He was a bus driver and a carpenter. He changed his family's fortunes, by coming on YouTube and becoming successful. He was the first creator in Asia to touch 50 million subscribers. The other contrasting one to take is when we are seeing these creators collaborate with international creators.
Yeah.
There's Mayo Japan, who's been collaborating with a lot of
She was part of that episode
creators.
as well.
And, her story is also fascinating because she actually studied Hindi and is therefore able to, relate. And she tells, stories about India in Japan. And I think just imagine the power of when you bring these really wonderful creators from across geographies. And the world is more global than ever.
Yeah.
So I think these are the two areas where we're seeing a lot of entrepreneurship come in. But I think there's a third area which is emerging strongly now, where we're seeing a new generation of creators start their own brands or actually support fashion, beauty, and many other categories in them being able to earn affiliate income on the back of it as well.
Right. A lot of creators will be watching this episode and want to know what they can do to traverse that path that, say, a Kusha Kapila has traversed successfully, or a Biju, like I mentioned. First of all, what are Indian creators doing differently than, say, the ones globally to become success stories. One of them is, of course, relatability.
Correct.
Yeah. But what are the other things that they should really think of when they're creating content to beat algorithms and become that,
I wish there was a secret formula, but I think you alluded to what is perhaps the most important thing, which is really building a trusted community over a period of time. So the common thread between all these various stories that we discuss is that there is a currency of fandom, which has been built by deep investment by these creators in having a consistent voice over a long period of time. So, this is not a 1 week, or a 1 month game that they play. And they invest the time. You talk to these creators, the more successful they are, the more they invest the time is still directly reading the comments of their community, making sure that they actually still have not lost touch, even though the community size may be touching multi-millions. And then, harnessing that trust to be able to sometimes voice opinions and deliver a message, sometimes creating IPs, especially in long form. We are seeing a lot of creators, both in the cooking and, the masterclass space, be able to create IPs or, stand-up comedians creating, long form IPs, which are very successful. And then there is, I think short form is a very easy entry point for a new generation of creators. So I think that would be the other thing I would add, that, experiment with formats. We also create, and bring creators together in a format called collectives. And I think that's a great way for both upcoming creators and, long-standing creators. They're continuously learning and we are continuously learning, but there is no one single formula.
And I think what stands out in all this is that when you talk about investment, it's not fancy production. You can just have a phone with a camera and create great content that will make you really, really popular. My question was about, beating algorithms, etc. And a lot of creators complain that there is just no understanding how algorithms work. Is there a way to understand this, or is it something that even people like you who are leading the platform in India can't figure out?
So I think, really, in many ways, we are talking about harnessing the creativity and being able to then translate it into the currency of fandom, right? The routes can be many to do that. And I think you alluded to a couple of them, but I think the other great one in India in particular is the linguistic diversity.
Right.
We are seeing creators being able to use now audio dubbing. And, that is allowing them to, on a single channel, be able to have multiple audio feeds.
Right.
So I think, again, I'll go back to saying, using these tools at their disposal. And now you have, Gen AI that's also helping creators better leverage their time and, more productive avenues and ways. So when you combine all of this, I think it's really about knowing the audience that you want to resonate with.
Yeah.
And going back and leveraging the analytics and the help and support of other creators.
Right.
And going down on that journey in part.
Right. Let's come to formats. You spoke about shorts, and we all know that this has completely revolutionized the way content is made and consumed. It's made it more efficient and more inclusive. A 30-second video is much easier to make, obviously, than a 5-minute video. But it's reached sort of a maturity stage. It's there now. If you were to talk about other exciting formats or the next vista, and I don't mean podcast because that's my next question, what would you point out?
Yeah. So I think first, I would say that shorts is still something that is really firing and is continuing to see tremendous growth. In fact, June this year, we looked at some of the statistics and we see that monthly logged in viewers on shorts is 650 million in India.
Okay.
Now, that's a really whoppingly large number. And that means that, from a standpoint also of advertisers and brands, the avenue to reach out to completely new consumer sets lies in that format. And I think that's a very powerful format for both creators and the industry at large.
Why do you say new consumer sets?
Because the reach is becoming 650 million, right? But consumers who are, perhaps tilting more towards short form, that becomes the new format to
The
leverage and use.
incrementality
The
is much
increment-
more dynamic in this
I would think
format.
so, because it's a format, like you said, which has the 30-second version of it. So definitely it resonates with somewhat different audiences
Right.
as well. But coming back to then your key question on what beyond this, and I think the other kind of twin engine of growth I would say we are seeing is in the connected TV as a format.
Right.
In fact, it's been our fastest growing format now in India for the last 5 years. We have touched now 75 million users on connected TV
Right.
above the age of 18. And that is a format that actually lends itself to very different type of storytelling, very in tune, one would think, with long format. But again, we are seeing both long format and short format sign. And in fact, I would go to the extent of saying we are perhaps the only platform that's cracked the code on getting short form to work on the large screen.
Right.
So I think these two are perhaps the most exciting, and I will not touch podcasts since you said that's going to be your next question.
Yeah, but then I have to slip in something
Yes,
else
of
here,
course.
because you spoke about connected TV. And one fascinating trend that has just started, I don't know how it will mature. So we had Amir Khan, who recently decided to release Sitare Zameen Par on YouTube. In that way, you're actually coming into a space which is now dominated by the likes of Netflix, Disney, etc. Do you see YouTube being a disruptor in this space as well? And I mean the OTT streaming space, etc.
First of all, I would like to say that, for a very long time, we've played a big role in the media industry. I think whether it's been the breaking of new movie or music videos, right from trailers, behind the scenes. So, in fact, the movie pundits often have their own version of algorithms to predict if the YouTube first week performance is like this is how the movie will do in the box office. So that's been going on for a while. So I don't think that's new. What is really new and what's grabbing attention with the Amar story, and obviously very excited to partner with him on it, is really the fact that it's a different pathway of monetization for the industry. Because they're thinking about the windowing strategy more differently, and it's coming right after theater.
Yeah.
In a pay-per-view format.
Yeah.
So I think that is where this one gets more exciting and more innovative. Very, very exciting possibilities and road ahead.
When you say exciting possibilities, do we see more releases, film releases happening on YouTube?
I would not say more, but the future is
space.
Yes, absolutely. Watch the space. There's going to be a lot of excitement.
Right. Podcasts. YouTube has quietly, I think, become the biggest platform. And one really interesting thing in India is that the consumption pattern is so visual, right? They even watch their songs instead of listening to them, which is why podcasts have, we face this problem a lot. We started out and still are at the core an audio podcast. But we've realized that there is no way to break into that large listenership or viewership space unless you pivot to videos. And one platform which is hugely responsible for us making that pivot is YouTube. How do you see this growing, and what are the trends that really excite you in this space now?
I think you said it already in your question. In many ways, the Indian consumption habit is still disproportionately wired towards video. And I think those visual cues, do play a role in their ability to appreciate, the conversation that's going on. And therefore, even in a format like podcast, helps people consume it in a more engaging and more exciting way. And that is what the research is largely telling us is at the heart of the video consumption. We've seen this in music as well.
Yeah.
So, it's not just the podcast. Music is another very audio-heavy industry. And yet you see, the video consumption of music is super strong.
Very true.
So I think genre after genre, this is clearly what the consumers are telling us.
Would you tell our viewers a little bit about whether you're profitable in India and investment plans? Where is the largest chunk of your investment going? How are you expanding in India, etc.?
Only for you. Well, we don't talk about our profit numbers, but what we take real pride in, like I said, going back to our mission, is how are we contributing to the ecosystem. So I'm definitely happy to share with you that in the last 3 years, YouTube has paid 21,000 crore to creators, artists, and media companies in India. And that is just the way in which we see this, like I said, the creator nation and economy growing.
Sorry, rookie question. What are the payments for? I mean, is this just revenue?
So, we are a revenue share model.
Right.
So the payments are basically the more successful the creators are, the more successful we are, and vice versa.
Sure.
It's a positive flywheel between the two. And then talking about future investments, we see ourselves in India investing nearly 850 crore across the various topics that we would be working and supporting the Indian creator economy towards.
Right, wonderful. Okay, Gen AI, huge disruptor. We've seen AI being put to the best and the worst uses on platforms like YouTube and Instagram, which is why you recently upgraded your partnership rules to filter repetitive content, etc., etc. If you can explain the guardrails a little better for our viewers as to how you filter out unwanted content that are AI generated.
Well, you've really done your homework well on our policies, and to share a little bit more about it, what that upgrade really focuses on is it improves our ability to detect mass-produced or repetitive content, which in layperson's terms we would often refer to as spammy content, coming our way, and filters it out. And so this supports our pre-existing policies of not monetizing content like this, but we are leveraging our prowess also to upgrade our tooling to do this. I think in addition, always education plays a big role.
Yeah.
And therefore, a lot of focus and effort is going in really talking to our key stakeholders in the ecosystem, which is really the creators, and enabling them with the positive use cases of Gen AI, because Gen AI, like you also alluded to, can really help remove less productive tasks. They can help creators, brainstorm better. And then, borrowing from the world of Google, we now have VO3, which also, helps
Absolutely.
creators be able to generate fully fledged videos. So I think it's really harnessing the capabilities of Gen AI in the right way, which is what our focus is. And equally being very, very clear on avoiding and working towards that sustainable and safe, trusted environment by continuously innovating and improving on our own tooling.
Okay, talk about some other pitfalls. We hear about burnout quite a lot, both on the part of creators as well as viewers. Then, of course, there is this whole thing about depending on one platform. Do these issues appeal to you as challenges? Do they disturb you? How do you think about that?
See, I think most creators come to platforms like ours to either for self-expression or to bring, long-standing careers which are sustainable for themselves. And I think we are also offering perhaps the widest spectrum of monetization options. Obviously, the most common model that people are aware of is the ad-based monetization. But again, I'm very happy to share that, we also have fan funding and, subscription as another option. And we are seeing some very successful use cases on that. And
What is fan funding, sorry?
so fan funding is when, your own subscriber base can actually fund, or it can also manifest itself in memberships. So in fact, again, taking some numbers, nearly 43,000 creators earned by the way of fan funding by end of last year, right? So that's becoming a very meaningful number, and it's growing. It's grew nearly 80% year on year.
Right.
And last but not the least, we also have introduced shopping affiliate program, which again adds to the monetization kitty. Then you have brand deals. So I think the aim is to widen the pie as much as possible in terms of providing a very holistic slate, because different creators also have different aptitudes, and that On one end, they can choose with all the multi-formats that we talked about, and then on the other end, they can choose in their entrepreneurship journey, the multiple monetization models. And that is really, is our mission and our work to enabling them and creating that right environment.
Sure. 3 things that would define YouTube India's success for you in the next, say, 4 to 5 years.
You're going to make it hard, but I'll go back to what we started with, right? You said, what may be some of the lessons. And I think one of the lessons in my journey is really been around focus on building trust in the community. I mean, e-commerce taught me that. And then this whole point around the ecosystem being the true test. The more vibrant the ecosystem, that being the true test of, successful platforms. How do we implement this in the YouTube context? I think the big vision would be to enable the creator economy and continue on that drive. We see new monetization pathways being very important, and we will remain very focused and committed to enabling not just our creators, but also other partners, media partners, education, healthcare. There are multiple areas in which we can contribute. And last but not the least, the trust comes with creating a safe environment for both our users and creators. And therefore, that will also remain a very, very big focus and part of the North Star of the journey.
Right. Gunjan, thank you so much for joining us. This was a wonderful conversation.
Likewise. Thank you for having me again.
That's it for today. You were listening to this episode on Corner Office Conversation. It was produced by me, sound designed by Amrit Reggie. A more detailed version of the conversation is available in the video format on YouTube, on ET's channel called ET Digital, and on the ET website. Please do check it out. It was shot by Vinay Joshi and Rajas Naik, produced by Vinay Joshi, sound designed by Amrit Reggie. Remember, this is Corner Office Conversation, the brand new show on ET Podcasts, where we talk to the most interesting business leaders in India and the world. Every alternate Monday on your favorite listening platform, and very often on YouTube as well. Stay tuned.